Good afternoon, folks. This is episode 23 of Finding Your Hidden Superpower, Autism, Aspergers, and those of us who are neurodiverse. So, today, what I want to talk about is autism and memory. So, Asperger's is lumped in as part of autism. The neurodiversity movement is gaining ground, and I agree with it. Instead of labeling somebody as autistic, we should be labeling people as neurodiverse compared to people that are neurotypical. Because a lot of what I'm reading about autism doesn't apply to me. But when I took the ASPE test, the ASPE quiz, so much of me was relatable, and at least that quiz labeled me as more than likely a person with Asperger's, which the DSM-5 psychological determinations statistical manual labels me as autistic. But a lot of what I'm reading about autism isn't necessarily applying to me. So, autism, we're going to be learning about it together. Even though I believe I have it, I don't know a lot about it because all I do is know about me. I've never really analyzed myself, and I've never really tried to put myself into boxes. So, with that, we're going to continue and we're going to talk about autism and memory. So, there's an article written in readandspell.com, US Autism and Memory. So a lot of this gives some ideas on how to teach people with autism. But the techniques I'm reading, this can be applied to anybody. And it's just that a lot of the times teachers, somebody went to school and got accredited as a teacher, they understand how to teach. They understand that there's many different types of teaching tools that can be put into place, and not everybody learns the same way. Many people have different forms of intelligence, which I'm not going to go into it specifically, but the bottom line is how well you use each of your senses is a learning tool. So we all use our senses as learning tools. And depending on which senses are stronger or weaker or more challenging, you're going to learn in different ways. So as an adult, what you'll find is when you go to work, somebody teaches you something that you need to do as part of your job. They don't, it's highly doubtful that they have teaching credentials. They just know how to do it the way they know how to do it, and then they're going to teach you how to do it the way they know how to do it. And you can have arguments with them because they can insist on you doing it the way they do it because that's the best way to do it when it isn't necessarily the best way for you. So instead of arguing with them, try and figure out how to understand how to do it their way and then figure out your way. You may get into arguments because a lot of the times businesses are set up as top-down decision-making enterprises. And so if you're trapped in a company like that, you may think about moving to a different company or sticking to it and just putting up with it. So, anyway, with that, I want to get into 5 techniques to try in order to learn better. So, the first technique is to develop habits. So, a lot of the times when you're able to actually do something is when it becomes a habit. So one of the ways they talk about forming habits through incremental learning and repetition. So learning something completely before you move to the next step, and then rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. A lot of times, if you can get into the mundane, um, just repetition of what your job is going to become. Because learning and going to school is very different than working at a company. Because while you're learning something different all the time, and you have to learn how to learn. So, being an academic is very different than going to work at a company. Because at a company, once you get through the first like 6 weeks or 3 months or 6 months that it takes you to learn the complexity of your job, it's going to become repetitious, and it may even become boring. So you got to figure out how not to be bored. So perfecting the repetition, perfecting the exactitude of what you're doing is one way to not get bored. So, but in the process of learning, you want to learn and form the habit and make it a habit. And then once it's in, then it will never disappear. So, number two, using visual cues. So, using icons, using visual tools, getting hands on, and doing it and making it happen. So, using visual cues, they talk about strong visual memory. Um, Great tools, bright colors, pictures, videos. One of the things that I do as a counselor is I do group counseling, and so what happens is that what has triggered a great amount of learning is I use what's called mind mapping. So I'll put down one concept in the center of the whiteboard, and then I'll draw a bunch of arrows of different colors, and we will talk about all the subjects that are pre-associated out in a circle from the center object that we're talking about. And so we could talk about autism, and then yellow or whatever color can go out and talk about memory. Another could talk about social aspects, and then we free associate, and then we take it as far as we can go, as far as what we know and what we're learning and how we're learning from each other. And a lot of times that can take up, with 12 people, that can take up an hour, or maybe even an hour and a half, or maybe as far as 2 hours, depending on how much expertise they have. And so it makes learning a lot more fun, because then people can go back and forth, debate, and teach each other. So using memory games. All people like to have fun. All people love to play games. Um, and people with, who are neurodiverse are no different. So you got to make it fun. You got to make it challenging. You got to make it some sort of a contest with, but you don't even have to let them know that it's a contest. You don't have to pit people against each other. People will naturally do that. The people that are the experts will start talking, and then people that believe they know something, as long as you give people equal say, and allow people to interact, they will want to. And even if you have to prompt them, you ask, the people that are kind of quiet, you prompt them, they'll be able to come up with an answer that you never even thought of. Number four, creating stories. We are storytellers. The book Sapiens is all about the brief history of humankind, but the main thing that he comes up, his theory, is that the reason why humans run the world is because we're storytelling creatures. And because once we unite around a story, then we're able to organize and we're able to be as a multi person entity. We're able to work better together and create things that have never been imagined before. And those things that unite us are stories. Religion is stories, a corporation is a story, a family is a story, a romantic relationship is a story, a school is a story, a football team is a story, any type of sports team is a story. So humans unite and organize and become creative because of storytelling. So if you can tell a story about why, what is it that you need to teach them, why they need to know it, how are they going to learn to be able to remember this stuff, and why do they need to remember it, and so how, what, when, why, and where are they going to be able to use this stuff, and so sometimes things that we learn we don't necessarily need to use, but there are very important things, and if a person doesn't know where to be able to use it, they're just going to think it's nonsense and go in one ear out the other. So the fifth way of teaching somebody is documenting events with pictures. So this is also, picture tells a picture equals 1,000 words. What are those 1,000 words? Those 1,000 words are a story. So pictures can tell a story. You create stories about around those pictures. You create a fun way of learning and why people need to memorize things, and you use visual cues in order to do that with the pictures, and then you help people form habits, and they will create the stories that make them great and make yourself great. So with this, I hope this helps, and I'm going to be diving more into how people remember, how people with neurodiversity can remember better, how people can organize their thoughts better. And with that, have a great day.